A lot of people come to me with the same fear. The house is only in my spouse's name. Do I have any rights? In Ontario, the answer is yes, and the law is actually quite strong on this point. Let me explain because I've watched this one fear push people into decisions they can't undo. Welcome, I'm Amanda Willing, and this is the final episode of the Family Home series. We've covered the home special status, your three options for it, and the formula that ties the whole settlement together. Today, we close the loop on one of the most common fears I hear in consultation: whose name is on the deed and what that actually means. Here's how it usually sounds. It's his house. He bought it before we even met. My name was never added. I just live there. He told me I have 30 days to get out. I hear a version of this almost every week, and very often the person saying it has already started packing. Emotionally, they've accepted a story about their rights that simply is not true. So before we get into any law, hear this. In Ontario, the deed is a record of ownership. It is not a record of your rights. Those are two different things, and the gap between them is where most of your protection lives. Title does not determine your rights. The matrimonial home rules apply regardless of whose name is on the legal title. Two things flow from that. First, the non-titled spouse has full possession rights, the right to live there, equal to the titled spouse's. Second, the titled spouse cannot sell, mortgage, or otherwise deal with the home without your consent. Now, what actually makes a property a matrimonial home? It's simpler than people expect. It's the home the two of you were ordinarily living in as your family home at the time you separated, not where you're registered, not where the mail goes, where you actually lived. And here's something most people don't know. You can have more than one. If there was a cottage the family regularly used as a family residence, that can carry matrimonial home status too. Same rules, same protection. That one surprises people every single time. Let's connect this back to the last episode. The full equity of the home sits inside the title spouse's net family property. That raises their number, and a higher number typically means a larger equalization payment owed to you. Here's a quick example. Say the home is worth $600,000 with a $200,000 mortgage. That's $400,000 in equity. All of it counts on their side of the ledger. If that pushes their net family property $400,000 above yours, the equalization payment coming to you is $200,000, half the difference. You are never on title, not once, and the home's value still reaches you. That's the piece people miss. Ownership and benefit are not the same thing in Ontario family law. Your possession rights are protected. You cannot lawfully be removed from the matrimonial home without a court order. Not by a text message, not by a locksmith, not by an ultimatum across the kitchen table. And if the pressure escalates, locks changed, belongings moved out, that isn't the end of the conversation. That's usually the beginning of a court application. Courts can also make what's called an exclusive possession order. That's an order giving one spouse the right to stay in the home and requiring the other to leave regardless of who owns it. When a court decides an issue such as exclusive possession, the court looks at things like the best interests of any children affected, each spouse's financial position, and whether there's other suitable and affordable housing available, and whether there has been any violence in the home. And one thing I want to say clearly, if you are not saved, safety comes first. Leaving to protect yourself and your children does not surrender your rights. There are other remedies at law for these exact situations. The consent rule has real teeth. It's not a buzzword. Consent deserves its own moment because it's the protection people underestimate the most. Even if your spouse is the sole owner on paper, they cannot sell the matrimonial home, refinance it, or place a new mortgage against it without your consent or a court order. That is not a courtesy. It's a statutory rule, and the lawyers on the other side of the transaction are looking for it. There is one practical wrinkle worth knowing. Your protection is strongest when the world can see that the property is a matrimonial home. So if you're worried about a quiet sale or a sudden refinancing, tell your lawyer early. There are steps that can be registered on title to put everyone on notice. The people who get caught out are almost always the ones who waited. I'd be doing you a disservice if I left you with only the good news. So there's two limits here. The first is the big one. These matrimonial home rules, the possession rights, the consent requirement, apply to married spouses. In Ontario, common law partners do not get them, no matter how long you've lived together. That does not mean a common law partner has nothing. Here's our takeaway. If your name isn't on the deed, please don't assume you have no rights. You do. Title is a paperwork detail. It is not a verdict on your rights. And if someone is pressuring you to leave, get advice before you go anywhere. That brings us to the end of the Family Home series. 4 episodes. What makes the home different from every other asset, your 3 options for it, how legalization actually works, and what happens when your name isn't on the title. If you take one thing from all 4, let it be this. The family home is treated differently than anything else you own, so treat your decisions around it differently too. Slower, with advice, and with the full picture in front of you. If you're dealing with separation, buying or selling a home, or planning for the future, we'd love to help. Visit willinglaw.com to book your free 15-minute strategy call today or download one of our free legal guides. And if you found this helpful, follow along for practical legal advice every week.